Hey guys, Brian here with another video on a cold and wet rainy day inside of London. And today I'm going to be taking you on an adventure to see 8 spots you may not have ever heard of inside of London. I'm not talking about Big Ben, I'm not talking about the London Eye, I'm not talking about Buckingham Palace. These are the places you're told to go when you come. No, I'm talking about places that are off the beaten path you may have stepped over. So let's go ahead and go and start visiting and let us know by the end of the video how many you've seen. Come on. Our first stop today takes us to Trafalgar Square, and I know what you're thinking. Brian, I thought we were going to do the touristy spots. You're right, but there's something in here that's often overlooked by people, so let's go find it. So here we are at spot number 1. We're on the southeast corner of Trafalgar Square, and right behind me was once Britain's smallest police station. Yes, this unassuming post here with the beautiful light on top was once Britain's smallest police station. Now, Trafalgar Square has always been known for having demonstrations, protests, and to this day people still do that. But back in the 1920s, there was a lot of troublesome people who were making problems. And so Scotland Yard thought it would be a good idea to build a police station here. It was built in order to keep 2 prisoners if need be, and it also had a direct line to Scotland Yard in case they needed backup. But you can see it has this beautiful ornamental light on the top, and this same light it's called a Bude lighting. So the lights were made by Goldsworthy Gurney, and these lights were so successful that the Houses of Parliament invited him, and he installed 3 of these inside the Houses of Parliament, which replaced 280 candles. So a bit of interesting history there. Today, now, this police station is just used to hold brooms, and it's not like it was in the past. But that's our spot 1, very interesting. Don't overlook it when you come to Trafalgar Square in the future. So we're just leaving Britain's smallest police station, and we're going a 6-minute walk over to Victoria Embankment Gardens. And what brings us here is this building. This is called the York Watergate. Now, this was built in 1626 by Nicholas Stone, who was a master mason for George Villiers, who was the first Duke of Buckingham. Behind it used to stand York House, and that has since been demolished. This building here, the Watergate, used to mark the northern shore of the Thames, all the way up until 1862, when they built up the Victoria Embankment, which made the Thames a lot less wild. And after, this building kind of fell into disrepair until the London City Council claimed it back and marked it as a place of public interest. It is now a Grade 1 listed building. Off in the distance over there, you can see the pier of the Thames, and over here is the York Watergate. So use your imagination, and this is where the Thames used to be. People used to walk down here to their boats, onto the rocks, and depart. And the Thames used to be a lot more wild, used to be a lot more busy. Taxis were boats back then, going through the city constantly. So this would have been in massive, massive use. So next time you're in Embankment, don't miss the York Watergate. Right, so here we are at stop number 3. Now we're taking a step back from the Thames, and we're coming to visit the City of London next to the Barbican in Farrington. And behind this medieval gate here is St. Bartholomew the Great, which is a church that dates back to the year 1123. Now, it was founded by a court jester turned priest called Rahir, and he was actually sick on a pilgrimage, and he had a vision of St. Bartholomew, and he said, if I get better, then I will build a church. And he did get better, and this is the church that he built. Now, it is also located right next to St. Bartholomew Hospital, or St. Bart's, which is the oldest standing hospital still on its original site inside of Britain. But this feature on the outside is one of the last medieval Tudor arches still alive in London. I mean, it survived the Great Fire of London, it survived the plague, it survived the dissolution of monasteries. So let's go on inside and see this history. So entering the church, I was expecting it to be a lot more grand, but the interesting thing about this church is it has unusual architecture. It began construction in the Romanesque architecture brought by the Normans, and during construction, everyone was switched to using Gothic. So instead of starting again, they just finished the rest of the church in the Gothic style. So you guys know I like my American history, and apparently Benjamin Franklin used to work here in 1725. In a printer's workshop. Very interesting. Right, so we're just wrapping up at spot number 3, St. Bartholomew the Great Church, and now we're heading over to spot number 4, which is here. This is the oldest surviving house inside of the City of London. It was spared from the Great Fire of 1666 thanks to the priory walls, which protected both of the church and this house. Now, this house is 4142 Clothfair Road. Now, this house has had many lives, but it is now a private residence, and it is a Grade 2 listed building. And you can see it retains a lot of the original features of the house that it had, and it was the only one that survived on this street. All the rest of them burned down. So very, very cool spot. Definitely check it out if you're in the area. For our fifth stop of the tour, we are not too far from our previous two destinations. We are in Postman's Park, which is located a stone's throw from St. Paul's Cathedral, and is probably best known for the commemoration of heroic self-sacrifice. This wall was built in 1899 and features the stories of people who gave their lives in trying to help others. So here you can see Daniel Pemberton, age 61. He was a foreman. He was surprised by a train when gauging the line, hurled his mate out of the track, saving his life at the cost of his own. January 17th, 1903. Here's another story. Henry James Bristow, aged 8, at Walthamstow on December 30th, 1890, saved his little sister's life by tearing off her flaming clothes, but caught fire himself and died of burns and shock. So sad. And another one, Thomas Simpson, died of exhaustion after saving many lives from the breaking ice at Highgate Ponds, January 25th, 1885. David Selves, age 12, off Woolwich, supported his drowning playfellow and sank with him, clasped in his arms. Very, very sad. September 12th, 1886. So yeah, those stories are very sad and tragic, and there's about 60 of them on the wall, but what makes that memorial beautiful is it's just ordinary people. It's not war heroes or anything like that, but it's a nice stop and a good place to reflect. But yes, let's go to our next place. Right, so moving on from something a little bit less sad, but we're going to go back to Millennium to our next spot, which is located at the Guildhall Art Gallery. It's not inside the Guildhall Art Gallery. It's located 6 meters below, 20 feet below my feet right now, is the Londinium Amphitheatre. Now, it was only rediscovered in 1988 when excavation for this building was going on, and it is on display for us to see. So let's go check it out. Come on. So here we're entering the eastern side of what would have been the Londinium Amphitheatre, the largest one inside the city of Londinium. It was only rediscovered in 1988. It's about 20 feet or 6 meters underground, and the reason why is because much of London is built upon layers upon layers upon layers over time. So much of the city would have been buried underneath here. You can still see the walls here for the gate. There's some wood down there that's still there. You can see the shape of it, the roundness. The gate is opening up, and they've put these hologram lights on here so you can get an idea of what it would have been like. And this area would have been used for sporting events, gladiatorial fights, execution of criminals. Just so much history here. It's crazy. I am Maximus Decimus Meridius, commanders of the army of the North. I mean, it's just fascinating to see. I think 2,000 years ago, a gladiator could have been stepping through this area into the arena, ready to fight. You can see a reconstruction of how the amphitheater would have looked in around 120 AD. Originally a wooden structure. And what's amazing about this amphitheater too is that it used to be able to house 6,000 people. And in Londinium at the time, there was only 20,000 to 30,000 people. So you could see just how important this infrastructure was to the Roman Empire. And all throughout their lands, they needed to have something like this. And this was Londinium's main attraction. People were coming here to watch all sorts of events. And the amphitheaters themselves were funded with public money, but the games themselves or the attractions were usually by rich individuals or even sometimes the emperor who were trying to gain favor from the public. The games became very, very popular in the 1st and 2nd century, with gladiatorial fights being the biggest one, also wild animal fights, killing of slaves and criminals. These games mainly went on until the 4th century, until a new religion started taking over, Christianity, and after that they kind of calmed down. So if you're ever around the Guildhall area, definitely come check this out because you would miss it if you didn't know about it. So something very cool, as we were leaving, I asked the man about the rest of the amphitheater, and he told me that this line here inside this courtyard is the rest of the amphitheater, and they did excavate it, but they were unable to put the infrastructure in to support other people seeing it, as well as this floor here. So the rest of the amphitheater does exist, it's just not on exhibit. But very, very cool spot, hidden, tucked away, 6 meters under our feet. Go check it out. Now our 7th stop takes us to All Hallows by the Tower, which is a church. And inside this church is supposedly an original Roman floor. So let's go check it out. So one really cool bit inside of this church, you have to go down to the crypt to find the Roman floor. So let's go. We go down these dodgy stairs. Let's see. Be careful. Here we are, inside the crypt with the Roman floor. And down here within the crypt of the church, you can find one of the most well-preserved sections of Roman flooring inside of the city of London. Now, it's a bit uneven because the family who owned this house, they had underfloor heating and they needed to fuel the fire to the furnace in order to make it go. So over time, it became more and more uneven. But you can see the tiles on there are very, very beautiful. And this dates back to around the 2nd century when London had a population of around 60,000 people. So right behind the Roman floor here along, you can see more tiles. And these are the same tiles that were here in the 2nd century AD. They were all probably laid by hand, but it's very, very uneven now. But it's just crazy to think of the history that's down here. So we're just underneath the church right now, in the crypt. And walking through, there's all these corners and historical items in here. You have Roman stones and World War I grave crosses here. And you can see inside the crypt there's another church here, tucked away underground. Up these stairs, and another little church. Right up there, a little chapel. And we move back up to the main church. And for our last spot, you can see the Tower of London over there, but we are going through the Leonard Royal Hotel, London City, to find something a lot of people just walk by. So let's get over there. So it's not super well lit up now, but you can see back here is the London Wall. So you can see nestled in between the buildings here is a section of the original Londinium Roman Wall. It's tucked away back here, and you can see the Tower of London back there through the buildings, and they've just built around it, you know? The base of this would have been more towards Roman times, but they built it up even higher during the medieval times. But you would have missed this if you just don't stop and look. You have to go through the hotel. So with that, we wrap up our London Hidden Gems tour. Now, this took us around 6 hours in total to do everything, and you could probably do this all in a day. So I'll put a map up with the optimal route that you can follow, the same one that I did, in order to see all these sites. And we started near Westminster Bridge, went to the Trafalgar Square, and now we've ended up near Tower Bridge, finishing for the day. My personal favorite was the Londinium Ampitheatre, 20 feet underground, so cool. It felt like I was transported back in time. It was very sad to see the heroic wall of self-sacrifice, all the stories on there. Very humbling, but some true gems. What was your guys' favorite? Let me know in the comments, and if there's any that you want to share with other people, also comment down below. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.